good after evening, morning.
Who can tell anymore when it's so dark out at like freaking 4:30?
Yeah, guys, welcome.
Fucking winter lovers be like, it's 3 p.m.
Fucking winter lovers also just, I don't know what fucking night owls do.
Fucking winter lovers be like, I love not being able to see where I'm going. I'm convinced there's something wrong with you. Whatever. Okay, welcome to DDE.
Well, what, like for winter lovers? For people who like love the winter? Yeah, that's me. I love the winter.
You do?
I do, but the one thing the one thing. Sorry about that, guys. And before we forget, welcome to the shittiest podcast in the tri-state area. Brought to you by Not Rise Coffee, because we're not sponsored by them no more.
Or Kamala Harris, despite what some of you might think.
Yeah, like I know it's. Maybe that's the reason why she just didn't win. We just
probably
we couldn't. Yeah, we just couldn't give her that. That election money she needed. It's a shame.
She should have done those podcast interviews. That's what they said on the media. That's what they said on the fucking media. Hey, you should have done those podcast interviews. And I'm sitting there watching that on MSNBC or whatever the fuck it was on, being like, yeah, she should have been on DDE.
To be fair, though, I think she should have just been on more interviews in general. But, that's, that's here and there.
There's a lot, but whatever. Who cares about that? The fucking... What are we talking about first? The DS, the Game Awards?
More important news. The fucking greatest annual award ceremony event / okay, I had no other word after event. Yeah, sex is upon us, ladies and gentlemen.
Featuring bears.
Probably only lady and gentlemen, if anything. But, yeah. The Game Awards 2024. Just right after 2023's. It's crazy, right? How fast the year goes by, huh? It's fucking insane. Time flies when the world is literally ending around us, but we have a Game Awards that looks like the middest it's ever been in the last, I don't even know how long this thing's been going on, but like it just looks like, were you all like scraping the bottom of the fucking barrel for this shit? Like, at least for your guys' nominees from what I'm looking at here. And,
Keely really keeled over on this front. Because I don't really know. First of all, like usual, being like the piece of shit Nintendo gamer that I am, playing mostly like platform fighters and shit in the occasional Switch game, and then COD Zombies every now and again. I don't even recognize more than half of them. I don't know what. If we could put this on screen right now, do you have them?
He does recognize one of the Game of the Year categories. It's quite a favorite among my co-hosts here. It rhymes with Spalatro.
What?
Balatro.
What? No, I don't know what that one is either. What the fuck is Balatro?
It's a card game.
No, it's not. That's like an Italian dish with pesto on the side.
Oh, you fucking idiot. It's fucking the card game.
How's the Balatro food in this restaurant?
It's good. It's the best in the city.
It's good. Get it with pesto.
I don't know why I said that like the accent that I did.
No, what is Balatro? Made by Local Thunk? Balatro is a hypothetically satisfying deck builder. I'm wearing shades. Deck builder where you play illegal poker hand. Their prescription. Poker hands, discover game-changing jokers, and trigger adrenaline-pumping outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah, what? I don't know what this is. It's a card game?
You know what it is.
No, I don't.
You showed this to us. Don't lie to me.
What are you talking about? I've never seen this game before.
Never mind. Ignore me.
Dennis, I'm not fucking around.
Ignore me.
I'm not gaslighting you. You're gaslighting me, and also gaslighting isn't real. Shut up.
It's just called not telling the truth. Okay.
No, in all seriousness, I've never heard of this. It's like some poker. It's like some poker.
Yeah, it's a poker roguelike.
A poker roguelike. A poke.
I actually also don't know what a roguelike is.
It's a poke-like. We're going back to Facebook 2010.
What is a roguelike? I'm very out of the loop. Roguelike is a video game style that features random level design, permanent death, and turn-based gameplay. Comes from the 1980s game Rogue, and games in the genre are often based on tabletop role-playing games like D&D. Oh, I didn't even know it was its own genre. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, roguelikes, yeah, they are. They've been like sort of its own spin-off genre for a while, but it's a card game that happened to get nominated for Game of the Year this year. I remember last year it was pretty stacked. I mean, 2 Nintendo games got nominated, which is crazy. That it very rarely one will, and if any at all, but Mario Wonder and Zelda did. Baldur's Gate was what wound up taking it, as we all remember, because, bear fucking. And this year there is, I guess one thing to talk about with the Game of the Year nominations this year is that I do believe for the first time, because of how big expansion packs are now, it's not like, the little memory pack that came with Donkey Kong 64 to make the game run, and also so you can hear the music when you play with more than 2 players in Diddy Kong Racing. Dennis can attest to that. DLC now can count as its own game, depending on how expansive it is.
Yeah, this was a statement from the Academy. I don't know who the fuck decides this shit, but the Academy decided okay, we're gonna let DLCs and expansions be able to be nominated for Game of the Year. And lo and behold, and this is not taking anything away from Elden Ring or from FromSoft or from Shadow of the Erdtree. It is quite possibly, I think, the DLC of the year, but I don't believe it deserves to be in the Game of the Year section. And
yeah.
The
only reason we're bringing this up as a topic is because we might have Elden Ring might be on its way to becoming the Daniel Day-Lewis of video games.
I mean, to be fair, it kind of is, but
in terms of it just being the greatest of all time.
I think
because what I mean by that is that Daniel Day-Lewis has won 3 Oscars for Best Actor. He's the only actor to ever win the Best Actor award, the most prestigious Best Actor award, 3 times. The only actor to ever do that. And Elden Ring is on its way because one of the nominations is the DLC for Elden Ring, which won Game of the Year in 2022, as you all remember. The Bill Clinton kid, came on screen, made it about him, all cringe and shit. But the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, because of this new rule where DLC packs can now be nominated for awards themselves or Game of the Year, probably because of this particular DLC, which lets us know it's probably going to fucking win.
I think it has a very strong chance of winning. I don't think it's going to actually win, in my opinion. I think there is a few others on here that definitely, as far as it being if we're going to put them up like boxers, Black Myth Wukong, I think definitely has a chance of being Game of the Year compared to a lot of these other ones.
I'm just saying, this, it's just crazy because Elden Ring legitimately might be the first video game to get Game of the Year twice. And that is substantial.
Just the whole prospect of it is kind of come on, really?
I feel like that's going to be the story of the Game Awards this year is Elden Ring going to get Game of the Year twice?
But do you personally feel like it really has a strong chance of winning? Because because here's the thing, people already have found this choice from, I keep calling the Academy, but I know it's not the fucking Academy, but people have already found that choice of actually making DLC expansions and DLC and expansions be able to even participate in that category and even get nominated. I think it's, and I'm not too familiar with how exactly the voting system is for the Game Awards, I know it's online and people can go and basically put in their submissions think for which ones they would like to win as far as the nominations go, but it still kind of reeks of the same sort of Academy bullshit politics that we have always kind of seen from the Oscars and stuff.
Yeah, because the way it works is that most winners are determined by, it's a mixed vote. 90,
it's popular vote and right? It's popular vote and something else.
Yeah, but popular vote is like 10%. It counts towards 10%. It's 10% of fan votes, and then 90% from just a voting jury. From, I assume, only the most elite gamers to ever grace this side of Reddit. I don't exactly know how that fucking works, but yeah, it's 90% like a panel, and the way they make up for that is because they have like a spiritual game of the year award of like games that people think should have been nominated that is one based entirely off of public voting. That one is just like, you know, the Kids' Choice Awards, the kids decide, you know, like that one's just there. This one, much like the Oscars, it's a panel, so basically it is sort of like an academy. I've been sitting here trying to think of a funnier word for academy, like some gamer word for it, but I can't really think of it.
The Game Academy.
The game academy, sure, let's go. The Gamadity.
Sounds so fucking stupid.
Honestly, the thing that I'm mainly laughing at right now is that did you click that link I sent you of the list?
Oh, let me see.
Look at Game of the Year and then look at Best Game Direction. They're right on top of each other. Tell me if you notice anything. Tell me what you see. Why don't you read it aloud for the class?
Yeah, they're the exact same picture. What the fuck?
It's almost the exact same picture, except for Best Direction has got Metaphor Refantasio. Or something. But, like, dude. Oh, no, it is the same list!
Bro, it really is the same.
Oh, my God. That's crazy. You couldn't give Best Direction. You couldn't even throw a fucking bone to, like, anybody else for Best Direction. Come on.
Bro, and I'm looking down this, like, just, you know, real quick, right? Where is the actual Game of the Year? Where is Helldivers? Why is that game not on this fucking list? Why is that game? No. First off, fuck the Academy, because that game deserves to be on there.
I'm gonna sit back.
It definitely fucking deserves more than Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. At the very least, I mean, you know, and everyone may think, hey, yo, Dennis, shut the fuck up. Were you a FromSoft hater? Shut the fuck up, you limp dick pussy. Like, thing, what? You get good, blah, blah. You just suck at the game. Like, you know, fuck you, whatever. Like, my whole thing is that I am taking nothing away from Shadow of the Erdtree. Because for one, if there is one category that it deserves to fucking win, just outright, it should be just DLC of the year. If anything, it just deserves that by fucking default already. And in my, like, you know, and okay, that's where my bias is coming in. But I'm playing fair though here, because it for sure deserves that category. At the very least, it deserves to be nominated in that category. However, shut the fuck up, David. Like, listen, Helldivers, through all of its success and controversies and just that fucking redemption arc that it has gone through over like the last like nearly year alone right now, why in the fuck is it not on here? Have you ever seen a game take off the way that game did? Truthfully, have you ever seen one that just fucking went to the fucking moon and then dived right back down for freedom? Like this shit. You've never seen a game like that. In several like years, I have never seen just like the almost like it's like a almost gaming cultural moment that we've like that, you know, when Helldivers like landed and like, you know, we actually like we were all in just like unanimous decision, like we just loved the game. If anyone even picked it up for 5 minutes, they fucking loved it. David played for the first time and he was fucking immersed. Yeah, go.
I'd like to point out, not in defense of the Academy, but just in the interest of truth, as I deal with facts on this show.
Yeah, like we always do.
Helldivers 2 did in fact get nominated for a few categories. One of them would be as to your testament of the story that game has gone through. And this is actually pretty hilarious when you really think about it. It got nominated for Best Community Support. because of the fact that Sony gave it the worst support of all time, and the community literally dogged on it so hard, made the game get review bombed into shit just to save it based off of how much they love that game. I gotta give this panel of jurors credit where credit is due, Dennis. Come on. I gotta give them credit where credit is due, that they gave this game an award. Or, like, they gave this game an award nomination for best community support for the community shitting on the game to save it. You gotta admit.
No.
You gotta admit that's kind of based.
I'll give it that.
As well as it getting nominated for not only best ongoing game, but best action game as well.
Oh, but the thing is that for me, and for seeing the other game in that category, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, I've played both, and it's really hard for me to even vote for either of them, truthfully. And I mean, I'll probably get around to voting in general. Like, it's really funny. I didn't even vote in the actual election, but I'll fucking vote for this.
A true American.
A true gamer, guys. I'm a true gamer. I don't care about politics. I care only about games and gamers. And I mean, whatever. My rant aside, I really, like, just in all fairness, I do think it deserved to be up there. Truthfully. Like, at the very least, it deserves to be up there way more than Shadow of the Erdtree. For Game of the Year, specifically. It deserves to be up there way more than it does. And again, just covering my bases here, I'm not taking nothing away from Shadow of the Erdtree. Because I know it's amazing. But does not deserve to be Game of the Year. I'm sorry. Just does not deserve to be. But again, truth be told, there's been quite a dearth of good releases this year, if nothing else.
I mean, you look at like the first 4 like fucking awards, and literally all 4 of them is just
heavyweights.
Balatro, it's Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree. It's like the same 4 every time for best game direction, game of the year, best narrative, best art direction after that. Like, it's all the same. And then best score and music, again, Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor, ReFantazio. It's like it's all the same fucking games for like the first 5. It's really not that healthy of a spread, if I'm being completely honest.
No, not at all.
Games go, it really. And so, I mean,
3 of them being Sony's.
We talk
3
about
of them being Sony fucking exclusives.
We talk about this as if we're supposed to care, and then we hardly even watch the damn thing ever. It's like,
yeah, and then also, like, when we get news of who actually won, we're just kind of like, at least for me, I'm just like, okay, whatever. Who fucking cares?
Just and like, complain about.
Exactly, we're just doing this for obviously content and our own brand of, I guess, manufactured outrage. I mean, truthfully, in all fairness, we care about this the same way we care about the Oscars, which is almost practically none at all. Like, we just don't give a fuck. Like, we've never really given a shit.
More people watch the Game Awards now for the last, like, 4+ years at this point than they do the Oscars.
Yeah.
So,
I remember you saying that. And yeah, it's true. It's very much true. I even think, to a certain extent, I don't know. I think for one, award shows are just never going to go away, just because, like, people kind of, or at least a lot of the studios who are in charge of them, like, they kind of view it as just kind of like, the same way when they air, like, certain sporting events. It's just like, hey, it comes around like every once a year, like, it's just like, it's a good opportunity to get that viewership up or whatever, and, like, or at least just get some viewership, whatever. Like, and then, like, in this case of like the Oscars and the Grammys and the Emmys, and then now, like, obviously the VAG, the video game. Oh wait, no, not VAG. I guess VGA. Never mind.
VAG. Serious, bro?
Well, like, I my dyslexic ass, like, really moved that around a bit.
It's not dyslexia. Like, you didn't even read anything. You fuck.
Fucking the VGA, the Video Game Awards. We, again, like, when this airs, probably not going to give a fuck about it. I still do at least stand by the principle of it all, where it's like, for one, again, Shadow of the Erdtree does not deserve to be in that category of Game of the Year. Most certainly not.
Is it because it's a DLC pack?
I think it's part of that, and also just the fact that, like, if I had to, if this is just talking about Helldivers for a second, I really do feel that that game had much more of an impact on like just kind of.
Impact doesn't matter. What matters is your video game, how much of your video game is a rejected movie script. That's what matters now. Because these are the only games that get nominated for Game of the Year 90% of the time. It's these big single player, like heavy, like story, like fucking Sony ass, like the kind of games that Sony should only make instead of trying like and failing to make these shitty multiplayer games like Concord and stuff. You see what I mean?
To your point, but to add to your point,
not all of them. There's Astrobot there, and there's the card game and stuff.
To add to your point, I feel as if like for when it comes to narrative, like. Because it's not the same as when we talk about movies, right? Like, we usually, whenever we think of, like, a good movie, we think the script, the writing, like, just so many things just kind of all, like, just are so well crafted and, like, it just makes, quote unquote, a good movie. Like, and there's just, like, so many moving parts in it that, like, obviously, like, it's very rare that a lot of times, like, you'll see a movie just kind of resonate and do so well with the audience because like there's plenty of movies like that come out that are like at least 90% of movies that come out are basically dog shit. Every year there's always just like a whole sea of dog shit that gets released, and we find that golden nuggets of the 10%, and like we just enjoy those obviously. And people may even argue like that could be it's very subjective, of course, because like I know plenty of people who just love fucking Michael Bay movies and like they'll just go to it and have a good time, and like I'm not taking nothing away from them for that, but I think like obviously in the academies, obviously purview, there's obviously like of course there's always politics involved with this shit, and then like it's the same for even like every other award show, but. And again, that's also not saying that like, Daniel Day-Lewis didn't deserve his three awards. Like I'm not taking nothing away from him, but it's just kind of like when we look at video games now, it's like as far as a medium goes, and even compared to movies, it's way more muddy waters compared to how a movie is, in my opinion. Like I think
half the reason that is that's before Marvel took over the fucking industry. You remember last year at the Oscars, they were sucking the cock of, was the movie, the Top Gun remake for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are they, like, talking about Top Gun as if it's, like, this fucking, like, cinematic masterpiece? It's a brain-dead
I thought it was
action.
a good movie. I just thought it was a good movie.
But it's a brain-dead action movie like anything else. You want to know why? It's because it's actually a movie that gets people to actually go to the fucking theater that isn't Marvel. That's why they were sucking it off so hard and talking about Top Gun as if it was this amazing fine cinema. Because nowadays, Daniel Day-Lewis, would still win. If he wasn't retired, he'd still win for whatever movies he's doing. But it would probably be something you didn't see because it's before fucking Marvel destroyed the fucking film industry. Basically making it the only movies that people fucking go to. You can't even fucking lie. You know that's true.
No, I think I maybe I wouldn't say destroy, but I think it definitely, if I'm being diplomatic here, it definitely changed that landscape for just, I think, forever, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, so what I'm saying is it's more political now, is what I'm getting at. Like, the Oscars now more than
at
anything else. And
even the nominee choices are also very political, too. Because, like, again, I think in the case of Top Gun, it kind of just proves that, like, I think maybe I don't know. I have to go look back at 2023's like whole years. Like,
dude, it was so heavy-handed. They had like three segments
I think so
just
too.
Fucking jerking off that movie. Like, not even talking about awards. They just brought up Top Gun like 5 times for like no fucking reason. Like, even for
did it
awards,
actually win anything?
I don't think so.
I see that.
But they just brought it up like a million times. It was like it was so heavy-handed, Dennis. It wasn't even subtle. And I don't know how political the Game Awards are, if I'm being honest, if it's 90%
I think they are.
jury-based or whatever.
I think to a certain extent they definitely are.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these games are games you might not have heard of or haven't played, or maybe I'm just not as, like, fluent in video games as most people are, which I know I'm definitely not. But, yeah, it's just a lot of the same ones for Game of the Year, Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction. A lot of them are literally the same games, even Best Score and Music and stuff. And
so it was nominated for Best Picture, Adapted Screenplay, Original Song. It won Best Sound, which I could give it that, honestly. Like, I think it deserved that. Film editing and visual effects were also nominated. So it got nominated for Best Picture. So
did it really?
Yep.
It did not fucking deserve that. That's insane. Oh my god.
I mean, you know, if one can argue just how fucking starved like they were. And here's the thing now, because this year, you know, I think Marvel's kind of slowed down their like constant assembly line release of like all their shit compared to last year. I think they've slowed it down. I think to a certain extent because I think the backlash and I think just like the lack of viewership and money that they were getting from these productions kind of finally dawned on them that like, okay, maybe we can put the brakes on a little bit and maybe
they got a ton
like
of
slow
shit
it down.
in the pipeline.
No, obviously they have tons of shit in the pipeline, but I'm just saying though, I think for this year, like I definitely have probably heard and seen less about Marvel than I've had even compared to last year. So at the very least, like it's kind of telling me that, you know, for one, Disney should just kind of go back to
they dropped Deadpool and Wolverine this year.
Yeah, but that was one. Remember how like at least a couple years back,
it's like it's like the 5th highest grossing Marvel movie ever.
No, yeah, I'm saying that is true, but I'm saying though, like as far as like just the endless like just pumping out of shit, like because I mean, arguably that was their best movie of the year, and I think even to a certain extent it deserved the success because I think it is overall just the you know, even just taking away that it's a, you know, quote unquote Marvel movie. I think it is just an overall good movie. I think it was overall pretty solid. Like I had fun with it. And, you know, I was never bored like how I was with Doctor Strange. Like and a bunch of others that I watched. Like, you know, it just actually kept me interested. But I think though now, like, you know, there was even a certain point where, you know, we were getting those Star Wars movies like fucking I think every year or every like 2 years or whatever. And like now they have another one on the way. And, you know, to like, and we give shit to the Academy as much as we can a lot of times, but I kind of get where they're coming from when they never had Star Wars, even though they are like, I think as movies, like very solid on their own. A lot of them, at least, not all of them, but I think they're very good, solid movies like on their own. But, you know, I kind of get why Hollywood or even the Academy kind of don't have like big franchise, like big, huge, rabid fan base, like franchises in their categories. I think just because probably in their eyes, like they kind of don't want to give them credibility, if that makes sense. Like they don't want to kind of almost give these movies more limelight than they already have.
Well, yeah.
Because arguably a lot of these movies, like they generate a lot of money. Like Star Wars and Marvel and like a bunch of other franchises in the past. Even Jurassic Park too. Like they all like generated a fuck ton of money. But then, you know, if that was the only criteria of a movie where it's like, oh, it's just how much money you generate, then that entire like category would have like 50 plus fucking movies in there every year. And voting would just kind of be like a fucking shit show to begin with. And, you know, I know at least one trilogy that has just, I think, gotten so many fucking awards. And it was the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like that entire trilogy won like a shit ton of awards. And truthfully too, I even think deservedly so. It's definitely, I think, up there, and it like definitely deserves to be like in the, what was it, the America's repository of film and shit. As for video games, just going back to those, like, you know, again, I get, you know, I really feel like the whole reason for them deciding like, oh yeah, like let's put DLCs like and get them into like the Game of the Year category. I don't really think there's any good reason to kind of include them. Like I know maybe the Academy like may drum up some reasons as to why, but I think just objectively speaking, and even just coming from like a guy who's downloaded many great DLCs over the years, of course, like for my games, and like, you know, I think a lot of story-based expansions are worth the money, or I think even expansions in general are worth the money. Obviously, if the content is like, just matches like what you're kind of like paying for, but I just don't see a world where like you can confidently say that Shadow of the Erd Tree, as huge of a as huge of a game it is, I don't see a world where you can really objectively and confidently say that that expansion deserves to be Game of the Year, which is basically like the category of all time. It's an all-encompassing one, to be fair, but like I can't see a world where people would actually like say that confidently in public. I just don't. Because it's not. Like, objectively, it's just not. I, like, imagine, like, it's like the same if, a fucking dude went up to you and said, like, oh yeah, Madden 25, like, is the greatest game, is the game of the year of 2024. You'd laugh at their fucking face. And it's like, again, this is taking nothing away from FromSoft or the devs or anyone who made like that expansion. But I think even to a certain extent, I can see a world where even the devs are like scratching their head as to like, it's like, really? Like, it's like,
no, they knew that shit was gonna get nominated.
No.
They changed the rules so that shit could get nominated.
No. But I think it wasn't they themselves that asked for that. Because for one, I think FromSoft doesn't even need this fucking mime show to really, like, for people to know that their games are, like, one of the best, if not the best, like, maybe by year round. Like, I mean, Dark Souls and, like, even just their whole, like, just library. I mean, people may even argue, well, I mean, a FromSoft game is a FromSoft game. Like, Souls-like is a Souls-like. They've just been kind of improving on the formula over the years, and obviously, like, it's just kind of like it culminated in Elden Ring, and then it culminated in, like, into Shadow of the Erd Tree and such. But it's like, there's still, like, there's really, like, there's that uniqueness too that for a lot of the games, because it's like there's really nothing out there like it. And at the same time, people have now then tried to make their own Souls-like. Plenty of devs have tried. And with, some of them with, like, obviously, some good success, but still, like, Daddy is FromSoft. Like, you copied them for a reason. They spawned the whole genre. It's a genre. It's like a literal, Dark Souls was literally, like, I think the genesis of an entire genre of games. And, I think that's the reason why, like, they just kind of are seen as, like, the Daniel Day-Lewis of fucking video games. But, again, I know David would argue it's just like, it's just a lot of politics. And I do agree. It is, like, just a lot of politics. But I don't think Miyazaki or anyone, like, who are from FromSoft, like, really need this award show to kind of confirm anything for them. They know that they're great. They know that their products that they release are fucking fantastic every time. And, it's the reason why that I know that this was not motivated by them. This was motivated by the fucking Academy, because they have nothing, I don't know, truly, because it's just like, when the Elden Ring was put up as a Game of the Year nominee from, like, all those, like, a couple years ago, right? Everyone was like, everyone was talking about it, but then everyone was also even saying that, like, it's just guaranteed. Everyone just knew. And to a certain extent, it's like, even I played, like, that whole, game of absolutes, because I thought, like, it was just going to win straight up, and it did. And, and that was taking nothing away from God of War and a bunch of others that were, like, going up against it. Kratos lost. I'm sorry. And it was like, one may argue, like, oh yeah, like, that was just, like, obviously it was a political decision, like, from the panel. I think they called it, like, their jury or whatever. Like, it was just a kind of a, political decision, like, that was made by, like, their panel. So One may argue that, but but that's the thing. It's like, I know people got so mad about it, but like, that it just looked like, okay, Elden Ring's just going to win this flat out. But at the same time, it's like, why do y'all care so much too? I mean, one may argue, okay, yeah, like, why do you care so much? It's like, I only care because of the principle of the thing. And it just kind of proved to me that this whole thing is just very fraudulent. Like, I even thought it was kind of fraudulent like 2 years ago when we saw that one where we saw Elden Ring being nominated and we just kind of knew. Yeah, it's just GG's from there. Like, everyone just kind of fucking knew that Elden Ring was going to win Game of the Year. There was just like no way it was not going to win. And, but like, obviously we still went about our days and everything, but like people did have their outrage over it. And I kind of understand where people are coming from with their decision to put this up as a Game of the Year nominee, like Shadow of the Erdtree. Like, again, it was a great expansion, one of the best I've probably ever played, and it definitely deserves to be the DLC of the year for sure. But I think it probably wins that outright, honestly. But like, that's why I'm saying, like, that's my bias there too. But come on, like, you can't tell me that like this doesn't just reek of like, just academy politics and bullshit, because, I even think Astrobot deserves Astrobot, and I think Black Myth Wukong are probably the only two up there that really deserve to be in that category. And again, I'm not taking anything away from anyone who enjoys those other games that were on there. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is not Game of the Year. I am sorry. It's just not. And the very fact that it's 3 Sony exclusives that are up there, and I think might be even more, but like, I have to take a look at that list again, but like, it's just like, you have some up there that definitely deserve to be up there. I'm just saying Shadow of the Erdtree is just not one of them. It's just not. And, it's not like I'm over here saying that, oh yeah, like, the latest Mario RPG fucking Brothership deserves to be up there. I'm not saying that either. Like, you're not hearing that from me. It's just that, like, that whole decision is such a mix of being an odd one and just so fraudulent, in my opinion. Like, I don't understand where that decision came from. Like, and people may even kind of say that it was like it's to kind of like open to kind of, I guess, prove that like DLCs can also be like a big expression of creativity, and like obviously like that's what video games are. They're just a very big expression of creativity, and if you're gonna want to really break it down that way, but it just doesn't, like, for a lack of a better word, I guess, it just doesn't sit right with me that is sitting in the table of all these other games. It just doesn't sit right with me. That's just me, though.
You see what I'm saying, though, about, like, the Sony favoritism? It's crazy. It's like that's just a very specific archetype of game that they just milk or just say, this is what a video game is so much. And it's very emblematic of, like, the Game Awards just trying so hard to emulate the Oscars, which they don't have to do. You guys get more views than the Oscars.
But they do it, and they bring the good and the bad of it.
Well, no, it's just by being in a more popular medium, because, like, video games are legitimately the most popular media form now. Like, bigger than movies at this point.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And it surprises people every time, but then you look at the numbers, and it's just fucking true. Like, and then every time, the games that always get nominated for Game of the Year are just these ones. But beyond even that, I think in some ways that the Oscars are more political than the Game Awards are, because what the Game Awards really is, that the Oscars isn't, is just a big announcement show. Everything gets announced at the Game Awards. Like, everybody waits for things to get announced at the Game Awards. It's half the reason people actually watch it. It's not even just because the awards themselves.
So it's just a stream for trailers, then?
Yeah, pretty much, because a lot of shit just gets announced at the Game Awards. And if I'm more down with that than just, like, jurors or, like, academies just picking something that doesn't deserve to win because we fucked this director or some shit. But really, as far as, like, getting back on that note and how that's concerned, the only thing I really care about here, or the ones that's actually kind of bothering me, are the nominations for Best Fighting Game.
Oh, let me see that.
Because I'm going to say this right the fuck now. Multiversus should not be anywhere near that fucking list.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Multiversus has no fucking business being nominated.
Yeah,
for
you
best
know they
fighting
bought
game
their way into that fucking
whatsoever
category.
because Multiversus fucking
Sucks ass.
that game sucks. I'm sorry, that game really fucking sucks. Beyond the fact that the gameplay is what it is, just being insanely slow and just very much not targeted to the demographic that, quite frankly, they use to build up the hype for it, really. It's not really like just a true, like, you know, platform fighter in the sense that, like, oh, you know, like, it's for you, it's for the competitive scene. It's really not. It's insanely casualized to the point where the game is really, really slow and just very anti-competitive in a lot of its tech and whatnot. And as far as that goes, it's also a free-to-play game. You know, I just a game that fucking... fuck me.
No, collect your thoughts.
Like, a game that just fucking... How do I even phrase this, right? Like, a game that fucking... was released unfinished with shit mechanics, really bad netcode, a 2v2 focus, to the point where they then said, oh, this was just the beta build of the game, and then took it off the fucking market for almost a year. Almost a fucking year they took it off of the market, only to then relaunch it in an astronomically worse state than it was when you first released the quote-unquote beta, and then just to add shitty monetization in almost every area, not just in terms of costumes and in Galemium and whatnot, but the fact that some characters were released so unbalanced to the point where they removed the character outright from the game, regardless if you even paid for them or not, just to then re-release them in also still broken states. And now the worst part is that this game, which I'm really hoping what it could do, is that it's not going to, like, scare publishers away from just greenlighting platform fighters, because you know how the state of the industry works now. They release an unfinished product, the game sucks ass because it wasn't fucking finished, and, like, executives just rush developers out, slave whipping them in the back with the fucking Indiana Jones whip to get that game out before it's even fucking finished, and then when it inevitably doesn't fucking do well, they're just like, I guess these video gamers... they really just don't like platform fighters anymore. And these fuckers never learn, and then all these people at Player One games are going to lose their jobs instead. Even though they're not the reason the game sucks. It's fucking Warner Brothers. We all know it's Warner Brothers. Every game Warner Brothers touches microscopically turns to shit. So the fact that that game somehow, just solely based off the fact that, oh, it's a Warner Brothers game, or it collected all these incredible IPs from, like, Adventure Time to DC superheroes to fucking Jason Voorhees and shit, the fact that it still got nominated for Game of the Year when Multiversus is the most textbook example of everything wrong with the gaming industry. Everything wrong with it, like from its insanely predatory practices to the fact that the game released in an unfinished state and then they had the excuse to call it a beta when it wasn't. The fact that it still got nominated for Best Fighting Game, I mean, that's always been like a joke category to these people because fighting games aren't taken seriously by a lot of people, but the fact that this was when I think Rivals, it should have been Rivals 2, which I think missed the deadline. I think it released too late into the year.
Nasby was last year, right? Nasby was last year, right?
Nasby was last year, but Nasby absolutely also did not fucking deserve it. Nasby also very much did not deserve it, and I'm saying that as one of the best players in the world of that game who already has like 500 hours into it. It did not deserve Best Fighting Game by any fucking stretch. Absolutely not. That's another game that, you know, is plagued by, like, you know, bad issues from its developers. So the worst part is that, like, because of the amount of people that played it at launch, I think, or just based off its numbers, I'm worried that it's going to get Best Fighting Game. I really, really, really hope it doesn't. I'm kind of motivated to make an account or whatever just to vote against it, if I'm being real. It sucks because I know people who are, like, on the marketing team for that game and shit, but I just hate the predatory practices the game does. So I hope it goes to Tekken 8 or something, even though Tekken also had like its fair share of really shitty balance patches, and it has its own scandals with the development of that game and shit like that. Like, I'm just not happy with the fighting game nominees. I'm really not.
I hope it goes to Sparking Zero, because I think it's the only one out of all of these that I think just released with like probably the most unanimous reception I've ever heard, which was just that like everyone who played the older Tenkaichi games, like from way back when, from PS2, like the PS2 era, when this game came out, it like the first week, everyone was just like jerking their cocks off, like of the game's release in general. Not even really because of like well, I mean, of course, like for the game itself, but like, I mean, when the release came around, like everyone was just so happy that they finally got like another Dragon Ball game and like one of like that whole like franchise. So I don't know. I hope that one wins. I hope it does. But
I'm fine with anything else except for Marvel.
Just except
for Marvel
Multiversus.
vs. Cap. No, not even just Multiversus, but also Marvel vs. Capcom, just because it's a collection of the old games.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that. That's literally just a fucking. Just a remaster. It's not even a remaster. It's a port. So
there's a port and collection.
Tekken 8 also had its fair share of balance issues, as well as just like like shitty community practices and stuff. Like I hope it goes to Grand Blue or Dragon Ball. Like truly. But we
shall see. We shall see.
Yeah.
If,
as far as Game of the Year goes, I hope it'd be hype if they gave it to Astrobot. I would love for like a E for Everyone, like family rated, like for a platformer game. I gotta say, for a platformer game like that to get nominated for Game of the Year, it's gotta be pretty fucking good. It might be the diversity pick because they gave, they also nominated Mario Wonder, and they never nominate Mario games for Game of the Year ever, which goes to show how big of a comeback 2D Mario made last year with that game. That could spell some good stuff, but truthfully, with the type of games they typically favor, I doubt they're going to give it to Astrobot, even though that game got like borderline 10s across the board.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Sony rode on that, like on the coattails of that success. Like they plastered him everywhere after that. And I mean, like, but it goes to show, like, like I think I'd have done the same. Like, who wouldn't? And not to mention, it's like the character itself is so marketable. Like, they're gonna make fucking plushies out of this motherfucker. They probably already have, if anything else. And like, they're probably gonna have all the Funko Pops and like all that shit will all be up there. And it just goes to show you, like, also how powerful like marketability is, because this dude's just cute, man. Come on, like, look this design. It just looks so like, you just want to pick him up and like, no, I was gonna say like shake him. We just want to like,
shake him like a piñata.
Yeah, like I think because that's the thing. Like, even with character designs too. Like, Mario is straight up timeless. I'm not saying Astrobot is like fucking up there with Mario, at least not yet, just because of Mario like at least has several decades under his belt now at this point. But I think, like, honestly, Astrobot, like, if depending on what they're gonna plan on doing with him, like, some characters have just kind of managed to stand the test of time, and like, they've just become timeless, and like they're just.
I don't think it has anything to do with even characters standing the test of time or just like his marketability as a character. I think it's just more so the gameplay. I think the gameplay was
both.
just like really wonderful enough together, to the point where like, I guess, but I don't know. I think just the fact that like, I think a game has to be really, really good for like a typical like generic or like linear, I should say, like platformer game like that getting nominated for Game of the Year. It really has to like stand out and like wow the audience to make it something special. Like same with like games like Ratchet and Clank. Like, like Sony, they always try to go for the wow factor with their platformer games that they make, and the last Ratchet and Clank game was insanely cinematic as far as just like being like a very like, it's not even just being cinematic, but like cinematic with its gameplay. Like the kind of stuff that reminds you like, hey, this is really cool to look at, but I remember that I'm playing a video game and not just a walking simulator with cutscenes every now and again, like Sony also very much likes to make. So if I had to guess to cap it off here, what I think is going to win, I think it's a toss-up between Astrobot, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Wukong. I don't think it's going to go to Balatro. I don't think it's going to go to Rebirth. And I have no idea what Metaphor ReFantazio is. I actually don't even know what the fuck that game even is, so I'm just...
It's from the same guys that made Persona, so, I mean, it probably, has good reason to be up there. Because Persona, I think Atlas in general just have made some great games over, like, the last couple of years, ever since, like, Persona 5. I'll let them, like, have the nomination, but, again, like, there's just also a mix of, like, I know there are some that deserve to be up there, and then there's also probably way more games that I never even played. And a lot of these I did not play. So, that's my assessment.
Yeah, there we go. I'm going to cut this one here because this one's going to be a bitch to edit. I didn't expect to talk about the Game Awards the whole time, but gosh diddly do, that's what we're going to gosh diddly done dare do. Hey diddly hell. All right, we love you guys. Here's the plugs. You can follow us on Double D Pod on Twitter. Not on Blue Sky, not yet. Maybe we'll make a Blue Sky so we can get the fuck off Tweeter. YouTube.com/Nintoonist. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to win Game of the Year, or what your favorite nomination is, or whatever, or what you think about Multiversus, blah, 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 anything you guys want. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. Helps a lot with the SEO. And we will see you in your memes, I guess. Oh, Donald.
So hungry.
Go eat.
Wait, you're a robot. You can't be hungry. Zip zab, nuts and bolts in my mouth.